Good morning. So again, I'm Katie McKnight with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank, and thank you all for having us here and for really gathering this group. I'm incredibly inspired by the work that everybody's doing and looking forward to the results of this summit to really see what next steps we can take in hunger in Marin County. So I would like to start with a quick video. We all know hunger is here. It is a problem. At the food bank, we believe that this is a solvable problem. We realize it's not a problem any one individual, organization, or entity can solve on their own, that it is going to take a room like this and many more rooms like this to really advance the changes that we need to make to address hunger in Marin. So just as not as though we need it, but a quick reminder as to sort of why we're here and why this work is so critically important. I'd like to share a video that we call The Voices of Hunger and Hope that was produced by the food bank recently.
There have been moments, literally like real moments, where I'm like, okay, I only have enough money for rent. I can't even pay for food. There you go. I have a career. I went to school for it. I got a degree, and it's still sometimes hard to get all your bills paid.
I have a teenage daughter, and she understands everything that's going on around her. So she understood the position that we're in. And all I just kept telling her was to stay positive. Sometimes you don't have the answers. And sometimes you feel yourself like you're not going to get out of the situation that you're in.
I never thought I would be like this, though. This was what I imagined my life would be like. But stuff happens, you know. I mean, I got ill, and that's just how it is.
I come to ask for food because now I am 72 years old and I have only $682 every month.
Looked around and said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is not the life that I want to pursue for the rest of my life. So something has to change.
It's basically how to survive in a city is so costly. And every moment I'm very grateful, and every Friday I wake up, I'm happy. Because I know I got some fresh food, I don't have to worry about food bill.
I eat it as soon as I get home. It's great to have. Before this, it was, what are we going to eat today? Beans.
There have been times where I'm like, where am I going to get my next meal? But you have the food bank that comes in and saves the day.
So the first couple of voices that were heard in that video were actually from pantries here in Marin County. So it's work that we continue to do and we know is growing. I did want to address, I assume that most heard over the weekend about the Trump administration's proposed changes in regards to public charge. And we believe that this is just another attempt to harm our immigrant population. We think it is mean-spirited, we think it is unfair, and as the food bank, and I'm sure seeing the nodding of heads in this room, that it is something that we will continue to fight vigorously. So I just figured it was important to mention. Thank you. We know that hunger is a problem in Marin. We know that hunger is a problem in Marin to the tune of 1 in 5 are at risk of hunger in Marin County. We know it's an uphill battle. We know that it is one we have many partners in. We know that according to the 2016 census data, over 46,000 people in Marin are living below the 200% of the federal poverty line. This is the level which determines whether or not you qualify for benefits. What does that mean? That means that a family of 4, the maximum gross household income that you can earn to qualify for benefits like the CalFresh program is $48,000 a year. We also know that the California Budget and Policy Project says that a family of 4 actually needs $110,000 a year in order to meet the most basic need in Marin County. I would also tell you that that 1 in 5 number doesn't take into account those that make too much money to qualify for benefits, but are still severely struggling in our community. In most cases, these are working families, they are individuals working 1, 2, multiple part-time jobs that quite simply can't pull together the resources to provide 3 square meals a day for themselves or for their family. I think we can all agree that it is truly a staggering statistic. Every year, the food bank partners with Christopher Weimer, co-director of the Center for Poverty and Social Policy at Columbia University, to compile data that really helps us determine our missing meals report. Without going too far into the weeds of the data, I would tell you that this report is used to look at how we're providing meals to low-income individuals in our community and how many more meals we need to close that gap to meet all of the need. We're still crunching the numbers from our latest missing meals report, but the preliminary data shows that we are making slight gains and it's seeing a decrease in the 9 million meals that were reported missing in 2015. That 2015 report, which is represented up here on the screen, we found that for those 46,000 residents, collectively, they need 53 million meals to get them through the year. That's 3 meals a day, 365 days a year. Through Weimer's calculations, 54% of those meals were afforded with household income. 17% were provided through government programs, and 12% were picked up by nonprofits. That leaves 17%, or 9 million meals, still missing from the equation. Those 1 in 6 meals not being eaten in Marin, it's because they simply don't exist. Who's missing those meals? It's Heather, who goes to the Ritter Center every week in San Rafael to get enough food to feed her family. It's our friend Turnell, who's studying to become a nurse at College of Marin, and he accesses our weekly food pantry there. It's more than facts. It takes change. It takes innovation. And at the food bank, we are committed to innovation. Last year, we distributed nearly 6 million pounds of food in Marin County. It's providing the food for 5 million meals. How are we doing this? We are accepting food from farmers, excess food from manufacturers. We are purchasing bulk items. That food is coming into our warehouse, and our staff and our volunteers our staff and our volunteers are repacking that food to distribute out into the community. In Marin County, that food was sent to 50 pantries that we operate weekly. They're called our farmers market style pantries to invoke that idea, that our participants are able to go in and it assimilates that shopping experience. They can pick and choose exactly what works for them and their families. We also, in addition to our pantries, have relationships with over 90 nonprofits, many of you are in this room, who are serving their direct clientele. But food isn't all the food bank does. We are making strides in nutrition education, showing people how to utilize our food, increase food utilization, help lower food waste. We are working in advocacy. We are working in CalFresh, where we know that less than half of those that are eligible are actually receiving those benefits. Last year, our CalFresh outreach team helped 800 households apply for benefits. That translated into over $300,000 in estimated benefits to help those families purchase fresh groceries. We're also incredibly excited that next year, California's SSI recipients will be able to receive CalFresh benefits. Robust enrollment in Marin County's SSI recipients could result in as much as a 25% increase in the number of CalFresh participants and an influx of food purchase dollars for seniors and people with disabilities. We know that implementing this change will be tough, and we are incredibly thankful for such great partners like HHS and many of you in this room who will help facilitate that change and really open up these benefits to more community residents in Marin County. I think that speaks to who we all are. It's that community approach that's going to help us work to alleviate hunger. It's not all we're doing. We are addressing hunger on a multitude of fronts in Marin County. We've all heard the story about college students living on top ramen as their only source, and that's a story that is too often told. We're incredibly proud that we have opened 2 college pantries here in Marin County, one at College of Marin and more recently at Dominican College. The response has been amazing, with several hundred students accessing the pantry at College of Marin and over 200 students accessing the pantry at Dominican. We believe that food is medicine. We've expanded our food pharmacy program in Marin. We're now working with nutritionists at the Marin City Health and Wellness Center, where our food is prescribed like medicine to patients with hypertension and diabetes. While we don't have hard data yet, anecdotally, we're hearing from patients that access to this food has helped them lose weight, drop blood pressure, and able to allow them to come off medicines previously required to live a healthy life. We are continually working to increase our impact in Marin. On this map, you can see the locations of our pantries. You can see currently most of our coverage lies along the 101 corridor. Our biggest pantries include the Ritter Center in San Rafael, the Canal Alliance in San Rafael, and our partnership with the Marin Community Clinics in San Rafael and Novato. But we know that hunger isn't concentrated. We know hunger exists throughout the counties. And if you look on the map, you'll see some points of interest further west where we know that there's an increasing need for our services. In addition to having our pantries in Tamales and Point Reyes Station, last year we piloted our mobile pantry program, where each week we are delivering a week's worth of groceries to those living in those most extreme regions of West Marin. Many of these families are living and working on the iconic dairy farms known in West Marin. And for these families, it's harder to gain access to healthy foods. As we've learned earlier, food deserts exist in many places in Marin, and trying to find those pockets of need is an ever-changing part of the work of the food bank. We're continually trying to reach into new neighborhoods. We're working to serve all of Marin County. The food bank recently expanded into Tiburon, where more than 36 tenants of the Hillarita apartment complex, just off Tiburon Boulevard, are now accessing weekly groceries. We're also proud to say that this pantry has just been open to the public, meaning that people living nearby will also have access to grains, protein, and fresh produce offered weekly. The biggest game changer for the food bank, we've moved. We have moved from our 12,000 square foot facility in Novato to this warehouse on Kerner Boulevard in San Rafael. This is truly will mean so much to the growth of the food bank. This property, right here on Kerner Boulevard, is 3 times the size of our old facility. We know it's going to allow us to expand our reach. For example, we envision a robust volunteer program with hundreds of volunteers coming in every day to help us repack this produce and these non-perishable items. We envision a day when schools take field trips to the food bank. It's important to us to teach the youth of Marin County about the work we're doing to end hunger and how important it is to be philanthropic and to give back into your community. But really for us, the biggest change is that it's going to give us the opportunity to scale our growth in Marin County. We know hunger isn't going anywhere. We know we're going to have to work harder, bigger, and faster to combat this problem, and this new facility will really allow us to do so. There is so much more work to be done. We can't do it alone. But despite the resources, personnel, and innovation, we all need help in fighting this fight against hunger. So I would ask you to do a couple of simple things. I would ask you to help tell the story of food insecurity in Marin. Tell the food bank story. Tell the story of all the partners sitting here at the table. I would ask you to stay informed about the food bank. You can sign up for our e-news on our website to learn about the work that we're doing, from food distribution on the ground to advocacy at the highest governmental levels. And you can always follow us on our social media handles at smfoodbank.org, where you'll see the work that you are doing as well as the work that we are doing. We know that at the food bank, if we all band together and work as a community, we can all do our part to help provide food for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. I neglected to say that Katie stepped in with maybe 12 hours advance notice because Meredith, who's on your agenda, became ill and wasn't able to join us, so that was pretty fabulous. Okay, now we're going to go ahead with the big news for today. We're launching HEAL 2.0. Reba's launching HEAL 2.0. And do you want to
Sure.
say
I'll ask Julie to come up and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Katie, for jumping in for Meredith. That was a great presentation, and we really appreciate and value our partnership not only with First Five, but with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. And actually, on that note, I really just want to take the time to thank everyone who's really been a part of this work. This work can't be done alone, as we heard today. You're going to hear a lot about partnerships. You're going to hear a lot about what's going on in the community to address the issue of hunger in the county. and you'll hear a lot about kind of collective impact. And that's really what it takes to get this work done. I've got Julia from our Marin Food Policy Council here with me today, and really our role, both with her role with UCC and mine with HHS, is to really just kind of be the backbone support for this community-led effort. And with that said, I really want to acknowledge our community members that have been a part of this effort and leading this. And so if you are on the HEALS Steering Committee, can you please stand up and just wave your hand for those that are on the HEALS Steering Committee? And I know Jay Vaughn from Marin City, Terry Green, you've been at some of those meetings. Thank you all. If you are on a HEALD task force or a Marin Food Policy Council member, please stand up, because this is your work. We are showcasing the work that you all have done. So thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for serving our community, because essentially this work cannot be done alone. It does take a collective effort. With that said, I do want to introduce Julia to give kind of a little background and history on kind of where we started with this work, and just kind of what we're doing to address some of the issues here in our county, kind of our framework of approach.
Clicker. Okay.
Behind you.
So, there we go. Okay. And then now that I'm all settled, thank you. Good morning. I'm Julia Van Solen Kim. I'm a food systems advisor with UC Cooperative Extension, which means that I help to bring the research of the University of California to Marin County, but more importantly, I help to study the local issues in Marin County and bring those issues back to the university for further study and research, and really do on-the-ground local research and support. And so as my food policy, or as my food systems advisor hat, I help facilitate the Marin Food Policy Council. And just as Reba was explaining, the Marin Food Policy Council strives for a collective impact to try and make the whole food system work better in Marin County. And that's from farm to fork. And so I wanted to take a moment today to dive in a little bit deeper into what we mean by collective impact. And one of the tools in our toolbox to try and have collective impact on this issue of hunger in Marin County is to use a policy, systems, or environmental approach to solving hunger. And so some of you may be familiar with this term. We call it PSE for short. And that's trying to change get to the systemic causes of hunger and alleviate them upstream. So if we improve the policies in our community, meaning the written, formal ordinances and codes and laws, or organizational policies or institutional policies, that can help alleviate hunger in Marin. If we work on the systems level, so changing the systems of how food is distributed or redistributed, or how school food works in the county, or how food banking is done in the county, that can help get at the root cause of hunger. And if we change the environments in which we live, work, and play, that can help get at the root of hunger. And when I say environments, I mean both the built environment, our physical environment that we're situated in, but also our economic and social environments that we operate in. And if we step back a little bit to understanding what's the root idea, why did someone create this concept of PSE? What's behind that? We can look towards a public health model of social ecological model, which helps us understand the multitude of factors that influence individual and community health. So we not only have individual health, our biology, our lifestyle choices, but we have different levels that impact our health outcomes. So our interpersonal context, the families that we are in, the workplaces that we're in, our organizational impacts, and our community impacts, whether our community has a grocery store in it or not, whether our community is rural and located far away from access to food, and our policy impacts. So when we think about all of these layers, there's a lot more that goes into dictating someone's health outcome than the individual choices they make or the individual ability for them on a personal level to access food. There's a much broader context at play. And so it can help explain why it takes our collective action, all of us in this room, all of the organizations that were mentioned in the introduction, to move the needle on hunger in Marin. So working with the Marin Food Policy Council, we bring together diverse stakeholders from the food sector, from farming, agriculture, to government agencies, to nonprofits, and we apply a lens of community food security, or the ability for people to access healthy, affordable, local food that's culturally appropriate for them. And we work to lift up community food security in Marin County. We develop targeted policies and what we consider practical, pragmatic solutions for working on PSE, or policy systems and environmental change, to increase food access and, importantly, local food production as well. Starting in around 2014, we focused in on what we consider equitable access to fresh, healthy, and local food. And this became our North Star for all of our work going forward. We developed some reports, some fact sheets. We worked with the Board of Supervisors to have a resolution. And our work since then has really focused on increasing equitable access to healthy and local food. Our target was around 3 different areas. First, increasing people's ability to access food. So that's really the question about geography and whether people had healthy food located right in their neighborhoods, close to where they live and work. We focused in on food assistance and the public benefit programs that allow people to have their limited food dollars go farther because of public support. And then we focused in on food production and the ability for people to have food in their own neighborhoods, on their own gardens or community gardens or school gardens, and the empowerment that comes from being able to grow your own food. And in the introduction, we heard from a number of people talking about how growing their own food was impactful for their family's food security. We know from research that that is very true. And so with that, I'd like to invite Reba up to talk a little about how this work helped spark HEAL 2.0 and how the work has carried forward in subsequent years.
Thank you, Julia. So when I came to the county about 3 years ago, HEAL had a framework that was designed much by the community that was focused on kind of 3 focus areas. And I don't know if some of you were in the room and were a part of those original focus groups around HEAL. Can anybody raise their hand if you were a part of that? And that looked at active living, it looked at children and youth, and the Marin Food Policy Council's work around equitable access. And so when I came in, we had kind of these 3 diverse focus areas, and what we were really trying to do was kind of hone in and focus on one single area that we could really see a shift and make a move on. And what we really wanted to do was kind of be data-driven, evidence-based, and community-led. So we looked at some of the data. And at that time, when we were developing the HEAL framework, this is what we knew. We knew that there were 2 versions of Marin. We knew that we are one of the healthiest counties, but we also knew that we had some high inequalities. We know that for our young African American Latinos are not as likely to be as fit as our Caucasian youth. We also know, just as Katie mentioned earlier, that food security is an issue in our county, and that if you're low income here, you have a hard time accessing food, housing, and paying other high expense costs. We know that here in Marin, it's about 48 times higher food costs than anywhere else in the Bay Area. We also know that food security looks like this in our county, that if you're an older adult, we have about 28%. If you're children, it's 24, and if you're adult, it's 19. So these are the people in our county who are food insecure, who are missing those 9 million meals that Katie talked about. We also know that not all communities have the same chance. And Katie talked a little bit about this, and so did Julia. We know that in Marin, if you're in West Marin, that it takes you longer to get a grocery store that'll accept your EBT card if you have CalFresh than if you were maybe in central San Rafael. We know that if you're in Marin City, you may not have a full-service grocery store. So where you live matters here in Marin. We also know that race matters. We know that if you're an African American and Latino, you're more than twice as likely to have be food insecure in our county. Versus if you're an Asian or a Pacific Islander, it's 1 in 4. But if you're a Caucasian, it's 1 in 7. And you'll see on your tables, we have a fact sheet that talks a little bit about the demographics. We know that food insecurity impacts health and health outcomes. We know that here in Marin, depending on where you live, your life expectancy is also different. And that if you're in our low-income community, you're 40 times higher prevalence of heart disease than if you're in a high-income community. And you can see the difference in life expectancy here on this chart between Ross and maybe somewhere like Marin City, where there's a 17-year difference. We also know with some new research that's come out from Hillary Sigmund with USDA that the impact of food insecurity has associated healthcare cost. We know that those that are food insecure are low income and are also have higher chronic diseases. So those associated costs for Marin are about $102 million when we look at those that are food insecure in our county and those associated healthcare costs that they have to pay as a result. So what does that look like? These are some of the coping strategies that you have to do when you're hungry. You have to eat low-cost food, so that might be McDonald's. We know that, McDonald's, Burger King, all of those kind of places give you really good deals. We know that that might be low-nutrient food, but filling. We know that you over-consume, you might binge eat because you don't know where your next meal might be. And we know that you try to avoid food waste, right? You're really, hoarding that food and making sure that it's going to last long. And we know that all of those behaviors have a high risk of obesity, chronic illness, and then once you get ill, you have a harder time of getting healthy. And so we started looking at some of the data, not me, the researchers out there, and they started seeing some trends. And so we know with some of the research that's out there now that if you're low income, that you have a higher chance of being admitted to the hospital for hypoglycemic towards the end of the month. And I heard somebody earlier mention about helping people towards the end of the month. And because we know that's when their food stamps run out. We know what the costs are associated with this. And this is essentially where we get that $102 million. We know that when you look at healthcare visits due to low blood pressure, this is what it would cost. We know that also based on SNAP and USDA's equation that for a low income, it's about $657 if we gave them, money to purchase food. Which one is, which one would you say is? And so this is essentially where that equation comes from and where you see the difference between people who are food secure and people who are food insecure and what those associated healthcare cost. And some of the reason, it's not just because of hypoglycemia, there's a bunch of different equations in there, but this kind of gives you a sense of where that estimate comes in. And so essentially what we know is that social determinants matter. They determine your health, your education, where you live, your access to care, physical activity, health services. Those all make up your health. And so those are the things we want to do something about, and we want to take a collective approach. So this is kind of our HEAL framework of how we do our work. We have a steering committee, as we acknowledged those folks earlier in the room. We have task force working on this, but essentially we're working together for our community. We're working together to serve those people who don't have access, who have higher cost associated with health, and essentially working with them to figure out how do we create a system to address hunger. Because we know, and you'll hear from Marv, that it's not that we don't have enough food. That is not the problem. There's a systems problem. It's getting the food to the people that need it. And that's why, as Julie mentioned, that's why we take this systems approach. And so you'll hear from a lot of our community members today about their work and some of the systems approaches that they're taking to this. And so essentially with our hunger initiative, we're looking at this, to align and create systems across government agencies and community organizations so that everyone in Marin, regardless of your income, race, age, or where you live, has access to quality, nutritious food, and ultimately to promote health and well-being. And so what we've done with the Heal Hunger Initiative is kind of built off the work of the Marin Food Policy Council and essentially created 3 task forces. We have a Food Now task force, and so you're going to hear from some of our task force members and going to talk a little bit about the work that they're doing. We have a CalFresh task force, and you'll hear from our CalFresh members to talk about that work. And we have a Built Environment task force. And essentially, because we know that if you're food insecure, these are the things the resources that you have to you. But we also know from Katie that there's this missing meal framework that we're trying to address. And so when you look at it from a systems approach of how do we do this work, essentially this is kind of the buckets and where we're trying to measure and make a movement on. We're trying to make a movement on the meals afforded in our community. We're trying to make a movement on government meals and people enrolled in those programs and that they're getting the food assistance that they need. And we're trying to make a dent into those nonprofit agencies, many in this room, who are providing the services to the people that need them. And essentially what that model looks like for HEAL is this. We have a steering committee and we have 3 task forces all working to essentially try to end hunger in Marin. And what we want to do is essentially reach. We know there's 9 million missing meals. We know that ending hunger is going to be a hard uphill battle, but we know that we can at least reduce it by 1 million meals, right? And so this is our goal. By 2021, we want to try to provide an additional 1 million meals that are needed in our county through those 3 different kinds of strategies. And so you're going to hear from the community partners today that are working on that. When we were here 2 years ago, we realized there's a problem in Marin. It's still the same, the 1 in 5. And so what you're going to hear from us today is what we're trying to do about that problem collectively together. So with that said, I'm going to invite some of our task force members to come up. I'm going to invite Alex Danino from the San Francisco Food Bank, and I'm going to invite D'Angelo Plett from our Health and Human Services Public Service Assistant. And they are going to tell you a little bit about CalFresh and what this task force is doing to address hunger.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra Danino. I work with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank, and I am the CalFresh Program Manager. I am also co-chair of the Marin Food Policy Council and co-chair of the CalFresh Task Force. We wanted to share with you just a little bit of a recap with what Julia spoke about, and that we started to work on this really through our equitable access work with the Marin Food Policy Council, and really looked at 3 priorities within the council on equitable access. So I'll just briefly run through those. And our priority number 1 was to facilitate connectivity and dual enrollment, and that was between free and reduced price lunch meals and CalFresh. And our priority number 2 was to implement an on-demand phone interview system for CalFresh participants. Number 3 was to improve the client experience for clients that are applying for CalFresh. Is that done? We also know, based on what Reba has shared, that for SNAP participants, as we see, it is actually $1,400 less in healthcare costs if they are able to access benefits that they are entitled to. And so we just see that briefly here on this chart. And as Reba mentioned, we started to work in the CalFresh Task Force to really address these areas and look at the utilization of the CalFresh program. And there were 3 strategies that were led into that CalFresh Task Force, and one of them was customer service, dual enrollment, and place-based outreach.
And what we tried to do, good morning, by the way, my name is D'Angelo. I'm the CalFresh Program Manager with Public Assistance. And with those 3 strategies, what we were looking at doing with the customer service, where we were looking at trying to make sure that we are processing applications timely, that everyone who applies or comes through our agency is treated with dignity, fairness, and respect, and also to try and reduce wait times for people that are coming in through our call center or through our main lobby. With the dual enrollment, we're looking at our work with the AB 402 program, which is the direct certification through the school lunch program and the CalFresh program, and place-based eligibility, which is one of the things that we started here in Marin, where we're looking at the services that we provide to the community and trying to figure out how to get out of our office and get into the community to serve the people where they are located at. And through our work, here are some of our outcomes, some of our key successes. We have our Novato call center, which is capable of staffing up to 16 eligibility workers currently, which helps reduce wait times for people calling in. So if you call into our office now, if you've ever had the experience of calling in our office before, you probably experienced longer wait times. Sometimes wait times could be 10 to 15 minutes. We have reduced that number significantly within the last year. Our on-demand interviews, which is also supported by our Novato call center. For anyone who has a recertification that is due and they miss their scheduled appointment, you call into our Novato call center and they will give you the opportunity to complete your interview right then on the spot over the phone. So you don't have to reschedule or wait for a later appointment. You can do it right then at that moment. C4 text messaging for SAR-7 clients. SAR-7, it's a semi-annual report who anyone who's receiving CalFresh benefits are required to submit a report every 6 months. After you apply through our office, there's a 6-month break where you might not have any contact with us except for when your benefits are renewing onto your card. So a lot of times we're noticing that we're losing a lot of our applicants at the SAR-7 renewal period. And so by putting in this text messaging feature, it gives our office opportunity to notify people ahead of time before their benefits have fallen off. When we haven't received the report, it automatically sends an alert to their phones if they sign up for this text messaging feature, letting them know that the report is due, and if the report's not submitted, that benefits could be lost. The AB 402 increase in direct certification, that's with our partnership with the San Rafael School Program, and Alan will talk to you a little bit more about that later on this morning. Our older adult ESAP outreach flyer for our older adult population. ESAP is the Elderly Simplified Application Project, and we have a flyer that was created through the task force that targets the older adult population here in Marin to bring awareness to the CalFresh program and how it can help them with food insecurities in Marin. And outreach flyers for all of our providers, for anyone that we're partnered with that's helping us increase awareness for the CalFresh program. There is a flyer that we have that we give to our partners that they can use to increase awareness about the program. And just a quick plug, we do have our table over there, the one that has the big stand-up banner says, "Ask me about CalFresh." We do have both of the flyers at that table, so be sure to stop by that table on the break and take a look at the flyers that we have. Some of the work in progress, targeted in-reach for our SSI and ESAP population. beginning in June of 2019, our SSI clients will become eligible for CalFresh. So this will be a population that we will be targeting, trying to let them know about the program and get them enrolled to the CalFresh program. And then continued work in progress is with our Medi-Cal. A lot of people who are currently receiving Medi-Cal are currently eligible for CalFresh, but the connection hasn't been made between the two programs. So we're looking at better ways to serve the people who are currently receiving Medi-Cal currently and letting them know about CalFresh and giving them the opportunity to apply for the program so that they can receive both benefits. And next steps that we're working on is performance review and quality control. So we're looking at more structured quality review of the cases that we have in our caseloads to make sure that we are offering all of the programs that people are eligible to, that we're making an offer to them, that the workers are covering every area of the case processing that needs to be covered, and making sure that we have that standard so that we can ensure that all our workers are doing the same type of work across the board. And this chart right here, it shows since we began this work. As you can see, we're having a downward trend where we are having less and less people discontinue through CalFresh. Before, we had a really high number of people who were falling off during their recertifications or at the semi-annual report time. And from our work, we're starting to go downward. We still have more work that we can do, and we're going to be looking at more innovative ways to try and address the discontinuances for the program. But as you can see, we are starting to downward trend, so we're really excited about that at this point.
Great. Thank you, D'Angelo. This is amazing, the work that we have been able to really work together. I tell you, when community comes together and we work with county government, it is truly a collective impact, and this is how we see some of those results now coming forward. I wanted to actually really give an appreciation at this time before I begin our call to action. We actually have an assistant network with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. It is a group of nonprofit organizations that come together that talk about CalFresh, but also help integrate CalFresh within their direct services, and really looking at that every door is a right door, because we are all touching on potential eligible clients through our services. And so I would like to just share that in 2017, the network provided 812 applications within CalFresh, and that equated to 634,984 meals. I would really like for all of you to please stand up, and that would be everyone in the house, San Rafael School District, please stand up. Marin City Wellness Clinic, Marin Community Clinics, Ritter Center, Covia, YMCA, Spark Point. Thank you very much. I would love to just publicly thank you. To that, we have 812 more participants on CalFresh. So as we continue this work, now I can start our call to action. The network is in gratitude for the partnership and supports Health and Human Services efforts to continue to implement strategies that support improved client experience despite many challenges. For example, the implementation of on-demand interviews, as you have heard, and phone systems that help support churn, and also stronger communication systems to help support clients with their benefits, as well as the community work on public charge. Now, I know you may have heard that we talked about public charge, and to that I want to mention that there is the Protecting Immigrant Families campaign. It is a proposed rule. It is not law yet, but we highly encourage you to please look at their website, because there is some follow-up steps, and they are looking for just support by 2 p.m. Where you can give feedback and comments to this proposed charge rule, because they are fighting vigorously with many other advocates and lawyers on public charge, because it will affect our immigrant families. So I'd like to then just continue on our call to action We do support Health and Human Services in looking at other ways to, actually build capacity that will be needed to support the new work that's coming forward. As Katie and others have mentioned, there's a potential of 2,500 people that are going to be eligible for CalFresh in the summer of 2019 in Marin County. And so we have to look at ways and how we can support clients in areas, even as I heard from our sister network in like behavioral health and others that really need that support, like our senior population. So hence there's this new opportunity with SSI, and the success of this opportunity will lie upon the development of a county implementation plan, the one that is aligned actually with state efforts. And that plan will need to include projected enrollment targets, with rough estimates of what touch points are likely to yield those enrollments and how to reasonably track success challenges in order to adjust course if needed. Communications and marketing planning and coordination and leveraging any useful state resources. Community education and creative partnerships. Thoughtful phasing of all of these efforts and funding support so that those plans are seen through and we can actually have success in helping enroll our eligible participants into the program. So here we are. We look forward to continue to build on the partnerships with this collective impact work in ensuring that all eligible participants who are entitled to this benefit receive them, and that is CalFresh. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex and D'Angelo. And I really want to just put a plug in for our partnership internally with public assistance. Public health and public assistance have been working really closely together on this initiative. It is not just backboned by public health and our HEAL initiative, but it's a tribute to our work together. It's our work with aging, it's our work with public assistance and public health coming together under Health and Human Services to support this work collectively, led by our community. So just want to put a plug in for that. I'm going to ask Lori Davis to come up right now and Terry Green to discuss work being done in our built environment area.
Hi, I'm Lori Davis, Executive Director of San Zuma and the co-chair of the Marin Food Policy Council.
And I'm Terry Green, stepping in for Sharon Turner of the Marin City HEAL CX3 program.
So this slide looks familiar, although it has a different verbiage on it. So, okay, these are the priorities that came out of the Marin Food Policy Equitable Food Report, the Equitable Food Access Report in 2015. And the first priority is for us to collaborate with and support local farmers, which we have been doing, and Alan and I will talk about that. Alan will also talk about how the school district is supporting, the San Rafael School District is supporting our local farmers. Priority 2, supporting our our policy changes, and what we've been doing with that is we've been working with the UC Cooperative Extension, the Marin Food Policy Council, and local municipalities to make sure that our old policies are not impeding the progress of us trying to reduce hunger in Marin County. And our third one is we've been collaborating and with many partners in this room on funding and other resources. So this is for the Built Environment Task Force, and this is us, how we have been supporting urban farming, which I just mentioned 1 second ago. We are buying from local farmers and from our own schools in San Rafael, and that food is being served in the San Rafael School District salad bars at all 9 elementary schools. And I believe, yes, thank you, Alan. Alan, stand up. This is Alan. Without Alan Downing in the Santa Fe School District, this would not have happened. We are also, as is Marin City, Sanzuma has put together a job skills and development program. So we are working both with Marin City, with the Community Development Center and their rehabilitation patients, and they're coming to the farm and they're learning new skills and they're helping us produce more food. As we are also working with MCOE and the Continuation High School in San Rafael, so the students are coming out. And we are now working with Terra Linda High School, and I'm mentoring a group of 10 students who are helping to write new food policies for the Santa Fe School District. Do you want to talk about anything for that?
Sure. About 6 years ago, in Marin City, we started a container garden working with about 150 children that attend the annual summer recreation program. And actually, I'd like Elaine to come up because we've done assessments, we've provided nutrition education, and one of the things that's very clear, our children really didn't understand the need to eat more healthily. Come on, Elaine. Call me, I could call you, right? You know? And the children just loved it. The thing is to not only to build container gardens, but the fact of the matter is we wanted them to take it home and begin to share that with their families. Well, lo and behold, and I want to thank Reba. I want to thank the Marin Community Foundation, Marin CDBG, and a number of other organizations, because what happened when you look at the whole issue of food insecurity, you have to, and yes, I'm one saying we have to have a grocery store, but until we get one, there are some things that we can, in fact, do. So we came together, and thank God we had some funding to build a greenhouse, but now what we're doing is putting together a senior intergenerational garden. So we took the whole container garden aspect, and we realized that our children really needed to have someone to really teach them about how to grow their own food. Who's better than seniors, right? So, look, but the seniors need the young people. As a senior, we need our young people to live, right? Seniors in the room. But more than that, when you take a look at the fact that, yes, and I thank God for, where's my little sister friend? Right there, come on, Alexandra. We've been working with seniors. We provide, the San Francisco Marin Community Food Bank. We have a pantry on Monday mornings. We have the home delivered meals, and I thank God for them. Thank God for, again, having the meal site on Wednesdays, but our seniors need more than that. We have seniors who are isolated in their homes. They need an opportunity to be able to come out and share some of the skills that they have. Who better to do it than seniors? They also need to be able to come out so they can look at relationship building, being able to meet with other seniors. What better place to do it than in a garden? When we talk about the senior intergenerational, I changed it to the healing garden. What a better place to go and sit down and just be able to lay back and look at the things just growing up. Be able to look at the flowers. You can see them now. You know, we need to embrace our seniors. We need to embrace our children. Again, we have to embrace the whole issue of the fact that there is food insecurity. If I'm a senior and I'm going to sit down, I see you doing this, you know what I'm saying. If I'm a senior and I have to choose, especially in the wintertime, if I have to choose between paying my PG&E and eating, I got to pay that PG&E. And we wonder, and I thank God for Amber back here at the Marin City Clinic, we wonder why we have so many folks sick. If you're going hungry day after day after day, you're going to be sick. You know, so I could talk a lot, but the senior intergenerational garden, we're going to make sure that you all have invitations. When we're having our grand open house. I want you all to come and see it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. So this is some of our successes from the Built Environment Task Force. One of them was what Terry was just talking about, the Marin City Intergenerational Garden, and they've also won a grant to plant fruit trees, which Sharon's going to talk about in a minute. San Zuma and the San Rafael School District, we have sold over 2,550 pounds of organic food to the school district. That's gone into our salad bars. That's all gone into the meal program. And then what I mentioned earlier, that both Marin City and San Zuma are creating pathways programs. So now I'm switching gears a little bit and focusing a little bit more on San Zuma. And I would appreciate it if we could all read this statement together. We do whatever it takes to increase awareness and to implement an equitable food system at all Marin County schools through programs that are possible with each school's constraints. We operate under the national framework of Farm to School, including these 3 focus areas. So also, Alan will talk to you a little bit more about the local procurement and production. We are including nutrition education in our programs in San Rafael at the farm, and then our school gardens. This right here is a slide with the data that I just showed you. We have sold this food. We have also been selling it to local restaurants, and that money is going directly back into the program to run the farm. And we donate both to extrafood.org and to our families that are at the school, at San Pedro School, where our biggest farm is. And this is just a breakdown of what we've sold, which fruits and vegetables that we've sold. So we are collecting all our data. So every plant that we plant, every seed that we plant is tracked from the day that it's planted until it's harvested and who it goes to and where it was planted. So in case there were ever a recall, we would be able to recall and know everything that that plant went through. We are also collecting all of the data of pounds it's sold to and who it's sold to, and now we're starting to collect how many minutes the children are spending out on the farm with us. So this is a picture of some produce that we picked from our San Pedro farm. And this is a slide to show you that the economic activity. So this is an actual USDA equation. So every dollar that we sell is also generating income. So that would be generating income at production, like for instance, Marin Sonoma Produce, where sometimes they clean, wash, and bag our produce that goes back to the district if we've grown too much at a time. Or for instance, kitchens, when we need to work into a commercial kitchen when we have too much. So it's generating other income and jobs. And this is our call to action. First of all, I also want to publicly thank Reba and everybody at Health and Human Services. We could not have done it without you. And we have an announcement. We are going to be expanding our farm to McPhail's school site in San Rafael, which closed 25 years ago. Thanks. So our call to action is tiered. We would like anyone who's interested in writing a letter of support. We have one conveniently typed up for you that Olivia, our farm manager, who has at our table over here, which you can also take home free seedlings and free plants. And Olivia will give you an example of what our template looks like, or feel free to write one of your own. But we would like letters of support from the community supporting us to expand our farm. And with that being said, we will also need donations and dirt, water lines, all kinds of fun things, a greenhouse. So please feel free to check out our table. And then I think this is...
So I wanted to publicly say to Alexandria that I'm going to commit to helping you with the seniors with CalFresh. And so just call upon me. I will call. I will do whatever you need me to do. I want to say that to you. And I want Elaine to come up here because I want her to talk about the fact that with our senior intergenerational garden, we have something special that's coming up. But we're in the midst of, we just had the steps built, but we're getting ready to build this container, this raised bed garden that's going to be out of this world. But I want Elaine to speak about that for a minute.
A couple of things I want to say. Terry Green actually wasn't slated to talk this morning. Sharon Turner was, that's currently managing the garden. But unfortunately, Sharon couldn't come, and Terry at the last minute had to step in. So I want to thank her for that, but this is really her brainchild, right? I know she talked in general terms, but she envisioned this intergenerational garden about 6 or 7 years ago when we started out, and we were trying to teach little kids to eat healthy when there wasn't a grocery store where they could go and buy some food to eat healthy. And she said, you know what, makes no sense to be teaching these kids how to eat healthy, and where are they going to get that food, right? And so she envisioned this container garden that, I kid you not, the first year we had 150 kids, and every year since then we've been planting those big buckets that are just a joy to watch, having the kids learn about how to eat healthy, harvest that food, cook it. And truly, I will say, and I have to thank our team, Reba and our team, and HHS, because we were the only ones that believed in this vision and said, yes, the community has said this, and anybody that knows Terry Green, when she thinks up something, you just have to follow what she says because it's going to come true, right? So but initially, truly, we were the only ones that said, yes, we are going to support this vision, because in public health, we understand when the community wants something and you support that, there is success. So fast forward to now, we have funding from Marin Community Foundation, CDBG, and a lot of energy going in this intergenerational garden that, again, she's envisioning into this social entrepreneurship program that I know in another couple of years we're going to come and present to you, and you will see the kids probably lined up with the elders telling you what it's going to be. Now, having said that, again, she brought us this grant, the Tree Planting Foundation grant, that we figured that we would work into, instead of just us, getting that grant and just the intergenerational garden getting these fruit trees, we said, you know what we're envisioning, and this is, HHS and with the leadership of the Marin City Community Service District and Terry Green, we really want to bring our partners into this fruit tree planting and have like this edible landscape expanded throughout the community. And having thought that, we approached public housing, we approached regional parks, and together applied for that grant and received the grant. So on October 11th at 9 a.m., if any of you have some time, you could come to the Marin City Community Services District, where we will have an opening ceremony where the fruit trees are going to be planted. So I want to give a big thank you to Terry, and if you would help me say thank you to her, I appreciate it. Do we have to go? You have to go.
Thank you, and as you can see, there's a lot of excitement around our built environment and community gardens. And I mean, it comes down to the basic concept that if you grow it and you cook it, you're gonna eat it. It's not rocket science. And so there is a lot of excitement about that because you get to try new things. I'm gonna now ask Amy Dietz to come up in a DEET, and they're gonna represent our Food Now task force and talk a little bit about what we're doing in that work.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Amy Dietz, and I'm a Senior Program Coordinator in Health and Human Services, Aging and Adult Services. In the interest of time, I'm going to try to make this really short, but not talk really fast, because as much as I would like to, you guys won't understand what I'm saying. So I'm here as a representative of Food Now Marin with approximately 60 other organizations, and I'm very proud to introduce a few of the things that we're currently doing and that we look forward to doing in the future. However, some of the experts in these areas are going to be talking a little bit later, so rather than stealing their thunder, I'm going to make this pretty quick. So the goal of the task forces, as stated here, is to enhance our food distribution system to include screening, referrals, and mobile services. I briefly just want to talk about food security screening. Anybody who knows me at all knows that I'm somewhat of a data geek, and I really like consistency across the board and being able to compare apples to apples. So there are a lot of different ways to ask about food insecurity. And the county has adopted this one, which is from the USDA. It's 2 validated questions, and we're trying to expand that across all of our FQHCs, Kaiser, doctor's offices, and hopefully also our older adult needs assessment. There's also a bunch of work being done around food distribution, some of which you've heard about, some of which you will hear about. And also Marv is going to talk all about food rescue, which is probably my favorite thing here. Some of the things that we've done thus far, as I mentioned, that screening tool implementation has been happening at 3 federally qualified health centers. We know that some of the needs in West Marin are different than the needs in Central Marin. And so the food bank has partnered with Kaiser to kind of do a study in terms of what the actual needs are, and we're going to be showing a video on that shortly. And there's a potential for enhancing this to the community health needs assessment. Once again, we are attempting to have a data-driven approach in which we're able to assess culturally appropriate, age-appropriate methodology for getting meals to people who both want and need it. And that is different across different ages. So we know that there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and we're trying to ascertain the best way to get healthy meals to people while also meeting all of the needs of food safety. And so our next steps are really doing a training on what we've already got. We have a lot of resources, both from Food Now and from the community, that people just aren't aware of. So really that's what we are attempting to push in the near future, as well as really doing a nutritional standards workshop. There are various nutritional standards, just like there are various ways of assessing food insecurity, and nobody can remember what all of those differences are. So in the interest of consistency, we're going to try to make those the same across the county.
Hello, everyone. My name is Edith Cadena. I'm a program coordinator with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank, and I believe we have a little video here to start us off. Let's see. West Marin overall is a pretty isolated community. Even further isolated are those that are working the ranches. And a lot of the ranches are 30 minutes. Some have told me, sometimes they take an hour just to get into Point Reyes, into the small town, before they even reach a bigger town. There are some households that don't have a car, and so they depend on their neighbors, and when their neighbors are going to go into town for groceries. A lot of the workers are working on the ranches 6 days a week. They try and go even beyond Point Reyes and over the hill to find affordable groceries, and also culturally appropriate groceries. The cost of traveling that far is also big. Gas, I believe the last report that the Marin Food Policy Council had, it was an estimated $40 per trip if it was just by mileage. And so that's even before the money that they need for the actual groceries. The issue of isolation takes on a whole new form because internet service is not readily accessible out there. Cell phone service is not great, and landlines is really one of the only ways of communication that a lot of them have to communicate. Throughout my time out there, it's been a repeated phrase that people from over the hill forget about us. And so they just really appreciate that the food bank has been taking so much time and dedication to making sure that we're meeting the food needs of the community of West Marin.
And so, yes, that was just a little preview of the ride that our volunteers are now taking every other week to deliver food to over 30 households out in very West Marin. Volunteers are taking groceries that they would that participants would find at our pantries, but because of the distance, because of timing, because of lack of transportation, various other factors, folks don't always have access to go and just do a trip to the grocery store. It takes planning, it takes time, it takes a lot. And so working with the West Marin Collaborative, which is a once-a-month meeting out in the Point Reyes Library, I've had a chance to connect with various service agencies and partners that really let us know about the need to serve the branches of West Marin. And through years of just dedication and connecting with folks out there, we were able to launch this mobile pantry service a year ago. And so right now we're serving 30 households, but this is, it's mostly families. It's mostly families with children, school-age children, and, at the end of the day, we're serving about more than 80 individuals. And we know that there are many more ranches out there that we're not currently connected with. We're traveling over 100 miles every other week, as far as the lighthouse up towards Pierce Point. And we know that there is definitely still a need out there. And if you have any questions and want to learn a little bit more about the mobile pantry service, we'll be right over there after this.
Thank you, Adit, and thank you, Amy. I know we're running a little behind, so we're going to do what we can to get back on schedule. I'm going to invite Catherine Keelik, who is a part of our nutrition wellness team, to tell you about a resource that we developed about a year ago in collaboration with our Marin Food Policy Council, and again, many of the partners in this room.
Nothing like being right before the break, right? Nice to see all of you here today. Again, my name is Catherine Keelik. I'm a senior nutritionist with Nutrition Wellness Program. And I've had the good fortune to step outside of my wheelhouse a little bit in working on this mobile app, which I'll tell you a little more about. I'm hoping some of you have heard about the Food Now Marin mobile app. But if you haven't and you're interested in downloading it, I wanted to give you an opportunity to find it either in the Apple App Store or your Google Play store. And then you can also find it, read a little bit more about it at the county's website as well. Are you downloading it? So a little bit about the app. It's designed to locate free and low-cost food resources in Marin County. During the break or at any time over the course of this morning, if you would like some more information or help downloading the app, Evelyn and Oscar and myself will be over at the table over here and can help you navigate that. And we'll also, if you wanted to contact me, we have parts of a promotional kit, including some business cards that have the QR code. So I know I don't even have a QR code reader on my phone, but it makes it really easy to download apps. We also have signage, so posters that you can post up, and food resource guides. So I'll talk a little bit about that. It was developed with community input, as Reba has said, was taken from the food resource guide, which I worked to put together, print version of all sorts of different free and low-cost food resources throughout Marin, aimed mostly for providers who are working with the community and needing food resources. And so we've rolled that into the mobile app format. And I'm going to show you a few pages here in a second, but maybe just a few other common questions. Why does the mobile app have 2 zip code search features? So I'll show you in a minute, but we were able to pull 2 kind of sources of data into the mobile app. So linking with the SF Marin Food Bank's pantry site locator and most all of the other community resources. And so I will, actually may come back. So when you first open the app, you'll see the nice food now emblem, and then it will bring you to this page here, where you'll see 2 input boxes for zip codes. And again, the Marin food resources are on the top, so those would take you toward, I'm just gonna go forward here, the list of different congregate meals, farmers markets, home-delivered meal resources, and then that bottom zip code links you with the SF Marin Food Bank's pantry site locator. So it's 2 kind of slightly different types of resources. This is just what it looks like when one resource comes up. There's a little bit, you can drop down and look at more information about the different resource. And this is a pantry site example with date, time, zip code served. And then there's also just a list of resources by category. So you can just go directly to this if you didn't want to do the zip code feature. For example, if you just wanted to know what different resources across Marin are available within the app. All right, and then I'll just try to wrap it up. We're seeking feedback, really still kind of in a test phase. So if you have any comments, to email us here. You can also contact me for any of the promotional materials, and we just look forward to hearing how it's going with the app out in the community. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Catherine. We're getting ready to transition to break, but before we do, I've got a video I'd like to show you and want to just bring attention to another flyer that's on your table. As you can see, it says take action. So we are at that point in our agenda where we're going to ask you to take action. We're going to have you get up, take a stretch break, walk around and mingle. But before I do, I want to show a quick video.
Do I touch it?
Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
All right. What's your favorite food ever? This is tough. Salad, mac and cheese, pancakes, and popcorn. My dad's steak, pizza, so good. What food do you dislike most? I hate cheese. Vegetables, spinach, tomatoes.
What's a face you make when you eat raw tomato?
I don't eat it at all. What do you do when someone gives you food you don't like? Play with it until it got cold. I'll say, hey, what's that? They look that way. Right, because if it was gross, then why would I want to eat it? Did you know that 1 out of every 5 kids doesn't have enough food to eat? 1 out of 5. 1 out of every 5 kids.
Can you turn the bag around and look at the other side?
I didn't know it was in America. I don't know what to say to that. Makes me feel bad. Makes me want to cry. Wow. That's a lot of kids. It's kind of unfair because some people have too much stuff and some people have too little. For me, I always get to eat lunch. And if that's a meal that I'm missing, I will feel very disappointed. It makes me feel like, what are we gonna do to fix this? What is something we can do to help fight hunger together?
So over there we have a wall with tons of ideas, and we want to add your idea to the wall.
Kids could think, oh, that's not possible, or oh, I'm too young to do this. But it is possible, and you're not too young to do it. Donate money as much as I can. Make Thanksgiving every day. We should all get a group and try to find the foods that would be easiest to give. And we can take the food to homes where they don't have food.
That's a small way to have a big effect.
Post videos about children not being able to eat. Everyone brings canned food.
and they build a big fort, and then they donate all the canned food.
And then they could have everything for free.
If there was some machine that could make food, my machine would change it to 0 out of 5 kids being hungry. The tiniest ripples make the biggest waves. If all the kids in the world got together and did something big, they could impact the whole world.
Every time I see that video, I get emotional and inspired all at the same time. Those kids are brilliant. And actually, those kids represent what's happening in our society today, because kids are making a change. And they have the ideas that maybe we thought about before, but they're doing it. And that's what I'm going to ask you guys to do right now, is to take action and to do something today. So what you'll see on your table is this one-page flyer. And on here are some ideas that a lot of the people in this room came up with today. They include things around advocacy, fundraising, volunteering, supporting your community, sharing your food, or just joining a council to be creative with your skills and help us in our work. In addition to this flyer, there's been bags placed around the room. And on each bag, there's an opportunity for you to take action. You don't have to take the bag that was given to you, but you will have a break. So this is actually kind of a musical bags if you want to play. Find somebody, switch a bag, but there's a specific action on each bag. And so we ask that you take a bag and take an action, one that's representative of the work that you want to do. So on the bags, there'll be an opportunity for you to do 2 things, either volunteer, and there'll be a very specific ask on that volunteer, to volunteer at one of our nonprofits in this room. Or there's materials needed. So those are the 2 actions that you'll see on the bags, a volunteer request or a materials needed. So if you don't have the time, and maybe you just want to write a check, there's an opportunity for you to do that too. So not that you have to take the bag that was given to you. This is an opportunity. We're going to take a break, stretch, get up, meet and mingle, swap bags, but this is your chance to take action. Thank you. We're going to take a break now. All right, for this next segment of our agenda, we've separated it by audience. And so
Let's
we're
take
gonna...
a seat, folks, please. I'll walk.
There will be time after to get additional resources and actually to check out our really cool mobile van that Andy will be talking about.
Start it again.
Okay, so for this next portion of our agenda, we really want to
Thanks,
showcase
everyone.
what our community members have been working on. And we've kind of grouped them into buckets of work around audiences. So our first focus area is going to be around our early childhood and our school, children and youth. And so we have Madeline, who came here for Marin Child Care Council to talk a little bit about what they've been doing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madeline McCann, and I'm the HEAL coordinator for the Marin Child Care Council. In addition, I'm on a lot of different committees, including the Marin Breastfeeding Coalition and the Marin Food Policy. So today I'm going to be talking about healthy eating and active living in the early childhood setting. And so today we have been talking about food insecurity, and part of this work is making sure that children have access to nutritious meals, and the child care providers and the families understand that importance. And that's because 1 in 3 low-income children in Marin County by age 5 are overweight. And I want to point out that 6 in 10 children ages 3 to 5 are cared for in non-parental child care arrangements. So this is our family child care providers as well as our center-based. And those are the providers that I work with each and every day. And so that equals about 35 hours a week. And some of my child care providers will let me know that they have children in their care for 40 hours a week. So many of these children's meals are served in these childcare settings. That's breakfast, lunch, dinner, all of their snacks. And so HEAL works to really support childcare providers and the resources, trainings, and best practices around child nutrition. And one of these ways that we do this is through school gardens. Here in Marin County, 17% of the infants are not breastfed, and breastfeeding is also very key to this discussion around food security. We know that studies show that low-income mothers have a higher incidence of stopping exclusive breastfeeding earlier. So those families that are already struggling with putting food on the table have that extra burden of buying costly formula. So I really help encourage and support childcare providers in adopting breastfeeding-friendly policies and practice to help those families who wish to bring breast milk in and or come in during the day to breastfeed their children. So what is HEAL? The Marin Child Care Council's Healthy Eating Active Living program focuses on that policies, systems, and practices to support quality care in Marin County. And through training and in the field, our goal is to engage and inspire. HEAL works to support child care providers and families to bring child health and wellness to Marin. So some of the areas that I work directly with providers are cooking, nutrition, physical activity, breastfeeding support, gardening and farm to preschool, dental education, and safe sleep. So we just finished up year 2 of HEAL, and I've been working directly with 20 child care providers, 8 of which are family child care, 12 which are center-based. The engagement really varies. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. That's in-site, going directly to sites. I do parent engagement. We had 14 parent engagement workshops, 20 classes on professional development for child care providers, and I'm happy to report that by the end of the second year, we passed 10 policies and HEAL initiatives. Thank you. And throughout all of these childcare sites who've worked with HEAL, there has been huge environmental and system changes that all embrace HEAL's work. So the engagement with providers is really key. The Marin Child Care Council actively involves child care providers in professional development. So classes and workshops at MC3, I teach classes on, farm to preschool, nutrition education. We do garden trainings. Right now we just partnered with College of Marin's organic farm, which I'm really excited about. Do direct on-site visits, and then personalized training. So I've done that on topics like local food procurement and breast milk handling. Family engagement is also a very important part of this. I help run a Food and Families cooking series where families get hands-on experience with learning recipes that are affordable and budget-friendly and how to do that back home with their children and how to engage with their children around nutrition. I'll do parent education nights at these facilities on topics such as picky eaters or nutrition for brain development. We also have a wonderful parent education coordinator at MC3, and just really encouraging those child care providers to give out some of those resources such as Food Now and Extra Food, just connecting families to those pantries and extra ways that they can bring nutrition education home. So the systems that I help support really is working with child care providers to look at ways that they can bring new programs to increase child wellness and adopt classes in cooking, garden and life sciences, how to increase physical activity. A lot of people think, well, they're babies. Why is physical activity important? Well, how do we engage these young children? And then just bringing curriculum themes and ideas such as monthly taste tests, getting local food to these child care programs and having children try these local foods. So here's some pictures of after we've set up some garden beds. The children's really understand the life cycle from planting the seed, growing the food. Here we are picking the beans, counting them, able to create a delicious meal. Right in the center, we have children using child-safe knives and using those gross motor skills around healthy food and making a friendship salad. The environmental changes. So we work on goal setting to make these changes. I'm also really happy to be able to offer child care providers HEAL grants that support the purchases of garden beds, cooking equipment, things to create a breastfeeding station. Also just looking at the overall classroom, what are the messages that we're sending these little children? Are the books and the songs, are they appropriate? Are we counting jelly beans or are we counting seeds and fruits? So I've helped raise garden beds throughout a lot of my childcare sites. I've also rented 2 garden beds in the Canal Community Garden, where 2 family childcare providers who live in apartment complexes are able to now grow food for their childcare program. So the children are literally walking from their childcare facility, getting the physical exercise, learning where their food is growing, and then being able to carry it back to their center, cook it with their provider, and incorporate that into their meal program. And out at one of my sites in West Marin, which we all know has food insecurity issues and food access, the garden is so prolific there that food is actually going home to the families. So radishes, lettuce, tomatillos, summer and winter squash have all been shared with the family members. So here are some pictures. We have a breastfeeding station. We have garden beds that the children absolutely love. And the policy work, this is absolutely fundamental. We've been talking all about the PSEs. So HEAL supports family child care facilities and centers to adopt their own policies around child wellness. So that could be breastfeeding, comprehensive nutrition policy, physical activity, limited screen time, and treat-free celebrations. This was one of the first policies passed on breastfeeding. And by helping develop these policies at child care facilities, this helps ensure that those best practices continue into the future. This also helps to ensure that new staff as well as families understand the value and work that's being done to support child health and wellness. And what's really key is this raises the bar for quality child care here in Marin County, which is what the Marin Child Care Council strives to do each and every day. So that is it. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Madeline. That is amazing work that you are doing. I'm going to have Alan Dowling come up from the San Rafael City School District and talk a little bit about what he's doing to address hunger in our community.
So how do we do this?
You're just going to push that button. Easy. That one to move.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Alan Downing. I'm the Director of Nutrition Services here at San Rafael City Schools. And as I kind of came into this room and started looking at everybody, it started making me wonder, you know, as a younger parent, when my kids were young, my mother always told me it took a village, right? And I walked in this room not expecting to see 20 tables full of all of these wonderful people from the county looking to end a very serious need in Marin County. So it's kind of cool, and I appreciate you all for being here. So some of the things that I kind of put on here that I'm proud of. Almost 4 years ago, Rita Kessler, the previous director, and myself came into this district, and we very quickly realized that we were not set up as a district kitchen-wise to make scratch meals, to spend the time cooking. So we made some very early decisions to focus on what we can do best. And we kind of came to that realization that it's providing salad bars every single day to every single student. And Lori Davis quickly found us and said, I can grow you whatever you need. And that's kind of how that partnership, came about. For any of you who have been to San Rafael High School, walked into the central kitchen, it is about a quarter of this room. And we do 817,000 meals a year out of that room. It is an amazing feat getting that many meals out of such a tiny facility. The only reason we get that many out is because I have a completely dedicated staff of 27 people who are not. They are also families in Marin County who suffer from hunger. They are low-income families. They have 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet. but they are the most dedicated staff you would ever find. And without their help, we would not be able to make that many meals for the students of San Rafael City Schools. So things that we do, we serve breakfast, we serve lunch, we serve supper. We also serve summertime programs at a couple different schools. Some partnerships that we work on. Very early, Marv from Extra Food found us and said, hey, can we get any of your food? Heck yeah, we can make that work. Strauss Family Creamery found us and said, hey, do you guys want to start doing bulk milk? Yep, we can do that. We partnered with Zero Waste Marin to cut back on waste, garbage waste. We also partnered with a little group called Ocean Warriors at Glenwood to bring in bulk spork dispensers to cut down on garbage waste. We partnered with Lori from San Zuma to grow us local organic produce from our own gardens. She was also instrumental in making partnerships for us with other local growers. Andy Olson from Olson Farms in, I don't know if I want to call it Pengrove or Katati. Anyway, it's on Petaluma Hill Road, in between Petaluma and Rohnert Park. She has been phenomenal in getting us those contacts so that we can feed our students local organic products and do what we can do best. One of the greatest partnerships, and this kind of speaks to everybody in this room, that from Reba and her team to Alex and her team to, I'm going to forget a whole bunch of people putting it in there, but the AB 402. And to me, this is the most exciting thing that we've done, that I've done in this district since getting here. With all of the help in getting families directly certified through SNAP benefits or any other kind of benefits that qualifies, we've been able to apply for and were awarded participation in the community eligibility provision at 4 of our schools in our district: Bahia Vista, San Pedro, Laureldale, and Short. What that means for all of the families and kids at those schools: every student eats for free, period. Right? That's a good thing, right? So that means they don't have to fill out applications. They don't have to bother about doing anything else. Because they filled out and applied for SNAP, WIC, whatever they applied for, every student at that school eats for free. So it's something that any school district can do. It's a federal program. All you need to do is have 40% directly certified students. I would warn anybody that 40% will lose your department a lot of money. You need to be closer in that 55, 56% range in order to get that done. Kind of one of those things. So other than that, I think there's some of Lori's vegetables during the summertime. I can't tell from that picture or not. Those may be Walker Creek no, those aren't. No, I was going to say those were Walker Creek apples from Sebastopol, but those are not. Anyway, this is kind of what we do, and this is what we do best, is fruits and vegetables in our district. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. We value our partnership with the San Rafael City School District, and I know Micah, who's also on our steering committee, Greg Nell, who's on our steering committee, Linda, thank you so much for your support. I'm going to have our community systems people now as we transition. I'm going to ask Mar from extrafood.org to come up and talk a little bit about food rescue.
Why don't we give it up for our ACE IT coordinator here, Reba Meggs, an all-around awesome leader in our community. So 40% of all food in this country is wasted. And to make matters worse, that creates a massive environmental problem. If global food waste were a country, it would rank 3rd in greenhouse gas emissions after the US and China. And yet, we all know here in this room how many people we have in this county who are hungry. You know, we see the homeless on our streets. Homeless are very important folks that we serve, but I think all of us have experience with the hidden hungry, So many of the hungry in this county can be hidden from so many of us. These are the seniors who are maybe homebound, who are telling us that they're having to choose between food and medication. These are the children who are not lucky enough to come to Allen's schools or Miguel's schools at Novato Unified and are coming to school without breakfast or lunch and hiding their hunger. These are kids at an after-school program that we serve who tell us that they know friends at school that haven't eaten for a day or more, and they bring those friends to that after-school program so they can get something to eat. These are folks like the man in Marin City who had an incurable terminal disease and who found a food program that we started there with our wonderful partners, hi Terry, and would text photos to us of food that he was taking home from the program. Whole grain breads, fresh fruits and vegetables from places like the Thursday and Sunday farmers markets. Where's Andy? And where's our wonderful volunteer, Lynn? He would text photos to us of these wonderful this wonderful food that he was bringing home, fresh salads, fresh squeezed juices. And he said, you know, I would never be able to afford food like this. This is what I need to try to live the way that I want to live. So Extra Foods' mission is to help, in partnership with literally thousands of people now, end hunger and wasted food in our county. And the first step that we've taken is our countywide food recovery program. So that starts with direction on the need and so on from organizations like HHS and the Marin Community Foundation and with our nonprofit partners in the safety net. We speak with all the nonprofits in the safety net that are serving vulnerable people, and we ask them, who are you serving? How many people are you serving? What types of food do you need? How much of those types of food do you need? And when do you need that food? And then those are our marching orders. We are calling on every possible business and school in this county looking for donations of excess food that match those needs. When we find a match, we post those pickups and deliveries online, and our volunteers and staff drivers sign up first come, first serve to pick up and immediately deliver the food. Average travel time about 15 minutes, 365 days a year, and free of charge. So in our first 4.5 years, 2.2 million pounds of food from our community to 114 sites around this county, throughout this county, the far reaches of this county, places like Homeward Bound, 8 of their sites, St. Vincent's, Whistle Stop, one of their Meals on Wheels programs with the help of our food donors and the county. We work with Whistle Stop to save one of their Meals on Wheels programs for particularly vulnerable seniors. Over an 18-month period, we tripled the size of that program together, and over a 12-month period delivered 5,000 more meals to those vulnerable seniors than in the previous 12 months. We're reaching now more than 7,000 people every month with the food that we're delivering, including 1,800 seniors every month. So we're helping our nonprofit safety net partners serve more robust and healthy meals, provide more variety in the food that they're cooking or providing or delivering to people in need. But in addition, we are, in our systemic view of how to collaboratively approach this work, we are affecting change in a number of other ways, working on policy, for instance, the Farm Bill in Washington and elsewhere, working on systems, changing the food system, changing businesses and schools' behavior around wasting food, and of course the built environment as well. expanding the safety net in Marin. We've started 30 new food programs with our partners throughout Marin so far, and of course, growing this food recovery ecosystem of people and partners as a renewable resource for our community that we trust will outlive all of us. So when I think about why is it that this program has had the kind of collective impact and reasonably quick collective impact that it has had, three things come to mind. The first is that we're filling a gap in the food system with some of the highest quality, freshest food in the world, much of which is grown or made right here in the county. And of course, it just makes sense to share it rather than waste it, right? The second thing is that there's just been massive civic engagement in our program. It's so touching to me to see so many of our partners, funders, volunteers here in this room. You know, we've had 500 volunteers so far, and I talk to volunteers on the phone every week, and I always ask, what do you like about volunteering for Extra Food? And the number one answer I get is, when I deliver food for people in need, I get a hug. And the third reason is that one of our board members likes to say, food is only food until it's shared. And you all know that sharing food builds connections among everyone as equals. That's our view, at any rate. If one of us is struggling in this community, we're all struggling. If one of us is lifted, then we are all lifted. So our immediate objective is to make food recovery a way of life here in the county, to enroll every possible business and school that is not yet donating their excess food in our program, and to capture every pound for people in need. Now, of course, as you know, the needs for food still far exceed the supplies. So we're building capacity to meet more of the need, including now recently adding refrigerated truck and staff drivers to our quickly growing volunteer program. But you can help by volunteering. You can volunteer, for example, as what we call a food runner, to pick up and deliver food. It might take an hour of your time. Of course, make a gift, because we don't have earned income. We raise our budget and have increased our budget every year to try to make more of an impact. So would love to have that kind of support, of course. And if there are businesses or schools that are not yet donating their excess food but could, and you know of them, like, please introduce us. So with all of us working together, of course, food waste and even hunger in our lifetimes are solvable problems here in Marin. I know many of you are already part of the Extra Food family, and thank you so much for your support and for your partnership and collaboration. And if you're not yet part of the Extra Food family, we'd love for you to join with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marv, and his work is just a testament to the fact that we do have an abundance of food, and kind of reiterating that systems approach is kind of getting the food to the right people. Next, I'm going to have Ceres come up, and that's Deborah McMealy. Thank you. And she's going to talk a little bit about what Ceres is doing, particularly around our chronically ill population.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here today with a few of my colleagues from Ceres. Sally, who's just walking across the back of the room right now, has been actively participating in Food Now Marin. And so what Ceres is, for those of you who aren't familiar, we're an integrated program, and we're all about making the connections between health and the food that we eat. So at Ceres, we engage teenagers as our primary cooks. They cook 100,000 healthy organic meals a year that are specifically designed to support people going through a health challenge like cancer. And as many of you know, unfortunately too many of us know, the impact of a diagnosis like cancer on a family or on an individual. And the meals that we make are designed to have a big impact not just because of the quality of the food. We put as much nutrition as we can into every single bite, but also because of that, what Marv was talking about, that feeling that you're connected, you're not alone, and illness can be very isolating. And so that's what we do, and we've been around since 2008. We've had a kitchen in Marin County since 2010. We're currently serving a little more than 16,000 meals a year, all prepared, because we're a grassroots organization, through the efforts of a small staff and a whole lot of volunteers and a whole lot of food donors and a whole lot of community engagement, because as we all know, food is such a connector. And the way that we care for each other and nourish each other through food, it comes so naturally, right? So I'm kind of not following my my outline, but we work with more than 400 youth a year in a full youth development program model that teaches them not just how to cook a healthy meal from scratch, but also provides them with some of the skills they're going to need to get and keep their first job, and provides them with leadership training. And what I'm so inspired by the youth that I see in our programs every week and who I talk to is their commitment, their passion for making a difference in the world. At Ceres, we believe youth are the future. We give them a full range of education from soil to table, and they are so inspired and so inspiring to make a difference in the world. So ways that you can help, let's see. Good. Sorry, I'm not going to follow my outline because it could be. But ways that you can help in the room is that we're really excited. We have a kitchen at Community Action Marin. We lease space there 2 afternoons a week, and we've just been able to secure a 3rd afternoon. That's big news. I don't know how many people have tried to look for commercial kitchen space in Marin County, but it's not easy to find. And so what we're doing now is we're setting up resources and volunteers and financial capacity to allow us to expand the number of people that we're serving in 2019, both clients and youth. That's going to allow us that 3rd afternoon, if we can put the funding in place, to serve more than 6,700 more meals next year, add more than 40 clients to our roster. That's a big increase for us, and we're really excited. It's been a while coming to find that space. And so I want to invite everybody in the room, if you know a young person who could benefit from this kind of education, if you yourself like working with youth in a mentoring capacity, or would like to deliver these meals to clients, or help us to get food donations into the system, we've got lots and lots of ways to get involved. And we have a table in the back of the room. If anyone has any questions, I invite you to come by, meet us, and say hello. Thank you so much to everybody for the great work you're doing in Marin County. Thanks.
Thank you, Deborah. And I have to mention some of Deborah's work really inspired our Food Now task force to look at our home delivered meal program and kind of bring together those that are delivering meals to our seniors, our homebound, chronically ill, and to figure out how we can really map out those services so that no one falls through the gap. And so that's some of the work that's being done in that task force, is to really look at how we can navigate the kind of referral flow process for people needing home delivered meals. In addition, I'm going to ask Michaela Moss and Amber, there they are, from our Marin City Wellness Center to talk about what they're doing around food pharmacy. And I know you've heard a little bit about that from Amy. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to them to talk about this really innovative program that they've partnered with the Food Bank, Health and Human Services, our program, and the clinic.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so I'm Michaela Moss. I'm the health educator at Marin City Health and Wellness.
I'm Amber Allen Pearson. I'm the program manager at Marin City Health and Wellness. And before Michaela starts, I really want to say how much I appreciate Reba and Roxy for all of their hard work in helping us grow our program. Also Edith and Sheila, who were part of the brainstorming that happened as we've developed this. So I just really wanted to say how much we appreciate you guys. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and the success of our program would not have happened without all of you. So I'm going to go ahead and press this. So the problem within Marin City is that there's a huge disparity between need and access. 45% of Marin City residents are food insecure, and this is also represented in our patient population, as you can see in those 2 questions over there that we ask on our intake survey. The majority of our participants who utilize our program worry about food access. Marin City is also a food desert. And Target, as Terry pointed out earlier, does not meet the needs of our population. Additionally, most of the restaurants within Marin City serve highly processed foods, with the Panda Express and Subway contributing to the problem of high rates of chronic conditions within our patient population. Let's see, moving forward. So our solution to this problem is to address it with a food pharmacy. We use food as medicine to supplement the prescriptions provided by our providers to treat chronic conditions like hypertension and diabetes. With our 12-week program, we give out fresh fruits and vegetables, proteins and grains, do blood pressure checks, weekly glucose checks, and also cooking demonstrations for our participants. We try to teach them skills that will extend beyond the program and enable our participants who eventually graduate to take these skills and utilize them at other food pantries within the community. We really want to make it clear to our participants that there's a link between nutrition and health. Having these blood pressure checks right next to a cooking demonstration shows the way that your blood pressure and sugar is tied to what you actually are eating. And by providing these healthy options, we are encouraging our participants to really prepare meals that will help lower their blood pressure and maybe help them get them off of those hypertension medications or reduce their A1Cs to eventually get them off of those medications as well. So what we've seen is this approach is really working. We've tripled our numbers since our first cohort, which started about a year ago. And patients keep coming back each week. They come back both for the food, but also for the community that we've created. Patients will come and critique my cooking demonstrations, which is great because I'm often preparing things that I've never prepared before, using food that, I get notice of 24 hours in advance and just whip something up. And they provide many good suggestions for how they'll make it at home in a better way. They'll also then bring in photos or even samples of foods that they've prepared using ingredients that they've picked up at the food pharmacy from the week before. And because of this community feel that we've created, people feel comfortable trying new fruits and vegetables and expanding their palates. We'll often have people who will look questionably at this bok choy or some tofu, but then try what I prepared and say it's interesting and maybe even pick it up to take home with them. So they'll try to recreate something similar at home. But there's also room for improvement. So we are reaching about, did I go the wrong way there? We reach about 25 to 30 people each week, but with 45% of Marin City being food insecure, we have room to grow. And we aim to expand our reach. However, there's also a huge language barrier that we're experiencing at our food pharmacy. About 30% of our participants speak a language other than English as their primary language. 50% of that 30% speak Spanish, and we have the ability to address that need within our clinic. But the other 50% of those participants speak either Arabic or Farsi. And we really don't have a way to access those languages. We can't provide translations for those participants, which means we can't engage them in the same capacity that we're engaging other participants. So when translation also goes both ways. We want these participants to benefit from blood pressure checks and cooking demonstrations. But if I'm not aware of what sort of cooking dietary restrictions they may have or maybe culturally sensitive ways to provide this information to them, then we aren't able to provide culturally competent care to these patients. So our ask is for translators. And Amber's going to talk a bit more about that.
Oh, no, you've got it. I just that because our program is based so much on social, like food is social to me. It's a social and sensational experience. And so we are not just trying to change the access, but we're also trying to change the culture around food and looking at it as an important piece of a person or a patient's health. And in order to do that, we need to be able to communicate with the people that are showing up. And we have a big percentage of people who are showing up who we can't communicate fully with. We are communicating with them because they are showing up, but we want to be able to deepen our relationship so that we can serve them in a deeper way. That's it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you both. And that's actually one of my favorite projects. I don't know how to say I have favorites, but it's innovative and it's unique. And I actually love the coined term food is medicine, and that's really where my heart gets at. This is a new concept of integrating. I don't want to say new, actually. It's probably the oldest concept. But our society needs a little reminder of the fact that what we eat really impacts our health. And the connection between public health and healthcare is something that is an old way of living, but in our new society now is an integrated way of going, and it's something new. It's a new approach that we're taking, and we're seeing it with things like food pharmacies. And I'm hoping that we'll see more of food pharmacies spread throughout our country, because that's what we really need, is that link between medicine and food. And so I'm going to ask Paula to come up to talk about, Paula Freeman is from Covia, and she's going to talk a little bit about the next segment on our agenda, which is looking at what we're doing to support our older adults around transportation and access to food. And so Paula is going to talk a little bit about what she's doing with Covia.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Paula Freeman, and I'm with Covia. And I've been with Covia for about a year now, working on the HEAL grant. And so that's been my main focus. And it's been a wonderful focus because it's very rewarding work. I'm also a member of the CalFresh Community Outreach Task Force and the Food Now Task Force and the Marin Food Policy Council as well. So I see a lot of you at meetings. Hello, everybody. So who is Covia? Covia is really a nonprofit who's been around for over 50 years. We were formerly known as Episcopal Senior Communities, so I'm glad they changed it to Covia. Much easier to say. And we have life care communities and affordable housing communities. And through those communities, that's what funds our community services branch, which I am located at in Marin at the Margaret Todd Senior Center in Novato. So we have a variety of services that we provide, and our mission is that we want to promote positive aging and cultivate healthy and engaged communities with a continuum of innovative services that actively support intellectual, physical, emotional, spiritual, and social well-being. I like our tagline better since it says live well, age well, anywhere you call home. It's much easier. So Covia has many services, and I'll talk first about the first 5. Am I going forward? There you go. Okay, so our services are the Market Day. Market Day is one of our most duplicated programs within the company, and that is a low-cost fresh produce market. It offers smaller portions, and we now have an organic selection that is provided by a local farmer in Pengrove. We offer a nice atmosphere with live music and snacks. We're currently looking to expand the market actually to 2 different areas in Marin, and that is part of our grant objectives. And these programs that we run are volunteer driven. We couldn't do it without them, and we train and screen all of our volunteers. CalFresh is accepted, which has been an achievement through the grant as well. The next program is the Home Delivered Grocery Program, which you see a picture of our 2 wonderful volunteers there shopping. This is a program that reaches adults who are isolated, homebound, cannot shop for themselves. We have a group of volunteers that meet every week and deliver food for free. They shop at Safeway and deliver the food to our clients. We currently serve Novato right now, and we are excited that we are opening another one in San Rafael, working with the Terra Linda Safeway. And this is through a partnership with Whistle Stop. So we will be doing outreach through a lot of their programs as well to reach those people that have need for this service. It's definitely more than a shopping service. this is a connection to people who are homebound. And also, it's a well check. I mean, these people, sometimes I feel like I get these grocery orders and they're really short. You know, they don't really need a lot of stuff maybe, but they really love the volunteer coming and visiting them and connecting with them and checking in. So it's a wonderful program. We hope that it's going to take off in San Rafael as well. I also provide the CalFresh assistance with the application assistance, and I've been part of that as Sisters Network, which has been a wonderful way to learn about CalFresh and be able to do my outreach in a more effective way. Also, there's the Margaret Todd Cafe, and that is a congregate meal program that it happens at Margaret Todd Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. And also the Margaret Todd Brown Bag that through the SF Marin Food Bank provides the food for its food pantry. So what's exciting and new has been our shuttle service. Our new shuttle service in partnership with Marin Transit and Whistle Stop. We were able to get a hold of a shuttle and connect 2 low-income senior apartment areas to the Margaret Todd to be able to enjoy all of these services on the first Wednesday of the month. So we just only had about 3 shuttles come in so far. We too have come across the difficulty of working with people who are speaking different languages that we have not been able to support as well, such as Farsi, but we are working on it, and thankfully with my membership to all the task forces, we've been able to find someone who speaks Farsi and translate some things into that language. So it's been a wonderful thing, and we hope that we're actually structuring programming around the shuttle service as well to include education, nutrition education, or anything, resources that they can get during that time that they're there. Basically, once we have them, we're going to get as much information and resources to them as possible. Okay. All right, so our community impact with the HEAL grant so far has been that we've been able to have both of our programs, the home delivered grocery program and our market day, accept CalFresh. So now, even if we're shopping at Safeway, we've created a mechanism where the volunteer can actually use the card on their behalf and to save them money. Also, we've increased, obviously, CalFresh usage with the EBT cards now that they can use it. We've assisted over 60 clients to apply for CalFresh in the last year. Also, our participation at our market day has increased by 38%. So more people are coming to shop for fresh produce, and we're always excited about that. And obviously, I told you about the shuttle that we have going on. And the reaching the homebound in San Rafael as well as Novato for the home delivered grocery program. And we are also working on that multicultural outreach in trying to get everything translated. So our call to action would be to find translators and get volunteers to help us with these new programs where we're trying to branch out. Because like I said, all of our programs are volunteer driven. Basically, we provide the backbone for these programs to exist. And we'd love your help. So just in talking about, I guess I wanted to say, collaborating with other community agencies with similar goals has allowed us to have better awareness of food programs and have a greater impact on outreach efforts within Marin County. The advocacy has developed as a result of our CalFresh outreach, and we've become advocates through the process, meaning I'm out there talking to people and helping them sign up for CalFresh, and things have come up where thankfully our partnership with the Office of Public Assistance has been invaluable in helping to streamline the process and create better customer experience. With, as we know with CalFresh, sometimes with older people, there's a bit of a stigma there. And so it's been great that they can at least remember the experience of either learning about CalFresh or in the application process to feel good about CalFresh and that it's made a big difference. So I just want to let you know, one of my CalFresh recipients recently came up to me, and taking a quote from her, she said to me, "Thank you so much. It makes me feel fear-free. It helped me in a space to allow me to relax and be without anxiety. I can now make ends meet." And if you were there to see the look in her eye, to look at you and give me the hug that she did, it just made me feel like this work is rewarding. And it's not really about me at all. It's about the people I serve. So we look forward, Covia does look forward to continuing to serve and to be involved in the community of Marin and working with our partners. So thank you very much. And that's my contact information.
Thank you, Paula, so much, and thank you for sharing that quote. It was very touching, and that is why we do this work. And actually, just speaking to what you talked about, just reiterating the power of partnerships. Really, that's why we're all here today, is to collectively work together to end hunger in Marin, and we cannot do that alone. It's the power of all of the people here. I'm going to introduce Steve Schwartz next, and he's with Interfaith Sustainable Food Collaborative, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what his organization is doing to fight hunger.
Jump the gun there, thanks. Thank you, Reba. I've partnered with many of the folks in this room, but I know a lot of you haven't heard of the Interfaith Sustainable Food Collaborative, so I'll tell you a little bit about our organization and also talk about some of the partnerships we're doing with faith communities. It's hard to see the screens. So we are, let me see how to move this thing. Okay. Our mission is to help build the local sustainable food system by working with faith communities. We do that with grassroots projects, and we also do that with advocacy. And I think, there's over 180 congregations in Marin County on our list, and folks that we've been working with. Each of those has local leaders. Each of those has resources like commercial kitchens or a spot where they can host a pantry. And I know many of the groups in this room are working with faith communities. One of the things we do is serve as a bridge between the faith community and the secular groups in this room who are getting more, so that they can be more effective at getting their programming happening. I work with a lot of committee chairs or mission chairs at churches or synagogues, and in some cases mosques or Buddhist temples, and they may be aware of Ceres, or they may be aware of the pantry opportunities to partner with a food bank, but few are aware of the broad range of things that are represented in this room. So that's part of our job, is to help people bridge that gap. And also we're doing some innovative models, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about, that other folks are not doing, really, to look at this piece of where does the farmer fit in and how can congregations connect with them. We've been working in Marin for about 6 years, and we also work in Sonoma and now Alameda and Contra Costa, and we've engaged over 200 congregations since 2013. So I want to tell you, give you a taste of a couple stories about why I'm motivated to do this work. Before we go further. So first, I'd say, I was a Peace Corps volunteer coming right out of college, and, I worked in a village where there was kwashiorkor, malnutrition, and we were doing baby weighings and other kinds of things. And this is part of what got, when we hear about a meal gap in Marin County, that's part of what I think of. Another thing I think of is my dad, who I grew up with stories of his life. When he was 13, he was in a concentration camp during World War II. He got hard bread and broth. That was every meal, except on a good day, a good week, he'd get a slice of carrot in the soup. So we heard about that, and I cared deeply about hunger because of that. But the stories that drive me today are stories. I'm on a small school board. I've seen the data of kids that are hungry and how that affects their performance in school. And I think of Pastor Smith from a church in Berkeley, who we brought to our conference in Marin City in March. He lost a leg due to complications of diabetes, and he's a passionate food justice advocate now with a Black church in Berkeley, but also working with the Center for Food, Faith, and Justice. So what are those stories? Where does that lead the organization I direct? If you're talking about hunger relief, calories are the answer, right? But if we're talking about food security and where meals are coming from, we have to think more about healthy people and how do we make affordable access to healthful food that doesn't cause obesity, diabetes, dental disease, right? I'm all for canned food drives, but I think everybody in this room knows that's not the be-all, end-all. I'm losing my slide here. So when we talk about community, we go from food security to community food security, we're talking about farmers too. Is there anybody in here who's making money as a farmer or rancher or trying to? Right, I think Lori's an urban farmer. I usually don't talk about this hat, but Julia bought some mushrooms from me at the farmer's market yesterday, and I do very small scale farming, have since 2001. But I would just say if we're not, if we don't have farmers and ranchers in this room, we're leaving opportunities for solutions on the table. Community food security looks at this broader piece and how do we support the community. And if you look at the Northridge earthquake or the fires that just happened in the North Bay, if you don't have local farmers in the mix, you're at risk in terms of food security for your community and resiliency. One more step, putting a HEAL lens on this. Active living, is something, healthy eating, we all know about. Active living is the other piece. My mom, some of you probably went gardening on Saturday, then you went dancing at night, and then you ran a half marathon yesterday. And that's great, but my mom's 81 and she didn't do those things. She's an active living for her would be going to the farmer's market, seeing a band there, talking to some people, socializing, learning about some cooking ideas, and getting out of the house and doing that. And for some, active living includes not just getting a meal delivered, but getting some food delivered that they're going to find a new way to look up a recipe and maybe make that meal and share it with some friends. So we've been doing a lot with the Ag Institute of Marin and then Ag community events, the farmers markets, to help seniors visit farmers markets and get and use the farmers market nutrition program. But that's not what I was supposed to talk about. So why produce stands and farm stands? Can get helpful local food to folks. They can be easy to establish and not too difficult to manage. Give flexible choices for consumers. And it's a place where we can crack the affordability nut while not asking farmers to sacrifice their limited income, in many cases limited income. You can also do very targeted, culturally appropriate food. When we worked on the produce stand in Marin City at Village Baptist Church, we connected them to Farms to Grow and R. Kelly Farms and Scott Family Farms. They wanted legacy vegetables common in or tasty and culturally appropriate for African American communities, and that was one of the pieces of that puzzle. Also, with a farm stand, you're not asking people to get in different lines. Low-income people, middle-income people, high-income people, same community, shop at the same place, pay for the same price for the same quality food, which is a really important thing. But how do you bridge that affordability gap? The way we've been working on it is what's called nutrition incentives. Many of you are probably familiar with the Market Match program at the local farmers markets. We get funding from the same source, federal source for that. Originally, we got some funding from Kaiser to pilot it, and we get some federal funds for the FINI program. If you go to a produce stand, swipe your CalFresh card for $20, you can get another $20 of free, another $20 of incentivized purchases. So $40 of produce, out of pocket, zero, right? 20 from the CalFresh program, 20 from our grants. And Andy's going to talk more about how that applies to the mobile markets. A couple models for farm stands. Can't read part of my slides, but sometimes the congregation is buying from a distributor or a farmer. Sometimes the congregation is growing the food, like Sleepy Hollow Church. Sometimes they're working with a distributor. Sometimes the churches or the other faith-based group is managing the stand, and sometimes it's local farmers that are taking a bigger role in that. How do you address the affordability? Different ways. CalFresh and the incentives is one. Another way is a sliding scale or a pay-as-you-can model. These are folks at Sleepy Hollow Church, did a small produce stand, and they do growing a lot of food themselves and making it available in their community, but also down the road at Short Elementary. Okay, so besides produce stands, we work with community-supported agriculture. Those are the veggie produce boxes that can be delivered at a Catholic Charities site or a church, and not just serve that congregation, but the neighborhood too. And we've worked with folks to be able to accept CalFresh at those sites, and then also be able to provide the incentive for the full season. So if you're paying with CalFresh, you get a 2-for-1. Another model. What is that? One thing, then, this is, I'm looking for folks to help out on this idea, but how do we get home delivered meals, not meals, but food to folks using some of the same transportation infrastructure that folks are in this room are using to deliver meals to folks? So can we get a CSA box delivered to someone's home and make sure that they're only paying half of the market price? So that's what, if you're interested in that, please talk to me later on. I think the time is run. Oh, I didn't talk about Senior Farmers Market. So the Senior Farmers Market, there's Amy's the new coordinator at the county. Marin was one of the worst counties in the state in terms of redemption of the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. We started working with the distributors here on that in the last year and a half, and really helping people bridge that transportation gap, so seniors getting the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program dollars can get to the market, know how to use the program, know which farmers to work with, working with AIM. And then we got some funding this year so that we can say, instead of you getting $20 worth of coupons to introduce yourself to the farmers market, we're going to quadruple that, let you get that incentive, those incentive dollars throughout the year. And we're helping 250 seniors in Marin County through that and looking to expand it further. Another way to get that, again, the affordability piece is not coming out of the farmer's pocket. It's coming out of other sources. So call to action, I guess, we're always looking for new congregations to work with and ways to go deeper with the congregations we're working with, and other faith-based groups, right? Groups of transportation I mentioned. If you're a funder and you want to support some of this nutrition incentive work, we'd love to talk to you about that. I'm going to take a second to introduce Lisette, who wasn't here earlier. This is my coworker. She just came back. Stand up. She just came back from the USDA Direct Marketing Conference, and she's going to have more ideas and always has energy and brilliance. So talk to her later, too. And I just want to say something quickly about Farm Bill. You know, it's $1 trillion piece of legislation, right? $1 trillion over, authorizes $1 trillion of spending in 10 years. It basically, the hopes of a 2018 Farm Bill blew up last week. You can, chances that happens this year are pretty unlikely. If what you care about is CalFresh, don't worry. You got nothing to worry about. The Farm Bill's expiring in 3-4 days. CalFresh is still going to be funded. But if you care about farm to school, if you care about Senior Farmers Market Nutrition, WIC Farmers Market Nutrition, if you care about beginning farmers, Farmers Market Promotion Program, all these things, the funding is, we have a lot of work to do in the next couple months. So we'll see you at the Marin Food Policy Council and see you around, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you for highlighting a lot of the opportunities that we have around policy and his work really is an example of kind of why we're focusing on our older adults with some of the opportunities with CalFresh changes, the farmers market match, and even the work with the farm stand and connecting that with some of the work that's going on in Marin City around the intergenerational garden there and some of the youth there and looking at kind of some farm stand. I know Terry talked a little bit about that. Our last presentation of the day. Thank you all. I know we're kind of winding down here, but I feel like I almost should do a drum roll for our next presenter, because what he will be talking about is a program and a mobile market that I know many of you that have been working around hunger in our community have been waiting for. We've been hearing about this. So yes, I feel like there should be a drum roll. But I'm going to invite Andy Naja Reese, who is the new AIM Agricultural Institute of Marin Executive Director, to come up.
So, good morning, everyone. It's interesting to talk about the perspective of hunger. There's actually, I would say that there's enough food to feed everyone. It all comes down to systems and partnerships to distribute the food. And I think what better place to bring together so many talented thought leaders who have passion. We should probably create some type of social network diagram of how everyone's connected in this room, because we all have the same goal at the end of the day, to help get food to people who need it. Talking about hunger is really important, especially here in Marin County, because we want to talk about it within the context of food systems. And over my experience in working in farming and food systems and nutrition education, so two things that have really troubled me. Number one is that oftentimes we'd find that the same people that were actually working farms to harvest produce would then have to go to the food pantry to pick up the food that they harvested. And that doesn't make sense. The second thing that's also happened, I worked for years in helping farmers and farmers markets to accept SNAP EBT, and I'd say about 1 out of 10 people that I met with who was a farmer who wanted to accept EBT at his or her market also was an EBT recipient. So again, that doesn't really make sense. So I think it's really important to understand what are ways to help promote food security in a way that we can inspire and support local growers and food producers. And that's what we try to do at the Agricultural Institute of Marin. So who we are, we're a nonprofit organization, and we've been around for about 35 years, and our goal is to create a viable food system. So we work in partnership with about 400 different family and small farmers, food purveyors, and food producers. We operate 7 certified farmers markets, so not just here in Marin. We actually work in 3 counties, so we're in Marin County, Alameda County, and San Francisco County. And it's really interesting because we're able to get ideas about what's working in Oakland, what's working in Hayward, and bring that back here to Marin, which is really important. The other piece as well that we do is we focus on education. So we run educational programs that focus on bringing school-age children and community groups to spend a day at the farm. We bring them to the markets, or we go to the classroom. And we offer scholarships based on economic need. What we're really trying to do as well is to help create a model where we can have, it's really sensitive. We can really think about, again, how food is being distributed. So one of the most important drivers of food insecurity is lack of transportation. So what we are trying to do here, we hear about many different models of shuttles and mobile transportation. And what we're trying to do to bring to change here within our food system is thinking about ways to help bring food, farm fresh produce, and dairy to people who are in need. So it's been a long time coming, but we finally launched our new mobile farmers market. Yeah. So we launched on August 9th, which is part of National Farmers Market Week. And we came up with the name Roll and Root. It was actually a play on the rolling and the root in terms of root-based vegetables. But we actually came up with the name through a contest. So we did a contest of community members here in Marin County. We had over 260 people submit names, and we chose Roll and Root. We thought that really represented who we are and our mission. What we're trying to do is to overcome transportation barriers when it comes to getting access to fresh, local, mostly organic produce. We believe that everyone should be able to shop at the farmer's market, get to know their farmer, and also have an enriching community experience. Because what we've seen so far as we've rolled out the Roll and Root, it's not just about buying produce. It's about creating a community of people to come together. Here we focus on bringing communities of mainly older adults to come together, to get to know one another, to celebrate their community and where they live, and to focus on really enjoying the large agricultural bounty we have here in Marin County. What we're also doing through our Roll and Root program is we're focused on nutrition education. So at every Roll and Root stop, we'll be offering nutrition education lessons focused on chronic disease prevention. We're also going to be focused on fresh fruit and vegetable storage. How do you store fresh produce? How do you freeze it? How do you maximize it throughout the year? And we're also focused on helping to support what I call encore careers. So people that are looking later in life for another job or another opportunity to play a role in their community. So we're going to be having a group that we call senior ambassadors at our Roll and Root. So at each Roll and Root stop, we're going to recruit and train 2 to 4 senior ambassadors to train them in how to do on-the-ground outreach, how to do marketing, and how to be part of this wonderful operation. What we're also doing to complement our work at the mobile market is also to make changes at our stationary market. So as Steve mentioned, we're working in partnership with Interfaith Food Justice Collaborative to really think about what are ways to make the farmers market that we know and love at the Civic Center, how do we make it more accessible and appealing and friendly to people of all ages and stages? So what we're doing in support, with support from Steve, we're really working to, number one, create a more senior-friendly experience. So one of the most daunting parts of going to the farmers markets, besides parking, is figuring out how do you actually navigate the market, understanding what's organic versus conventional, what are these different types of terms. So what we do is we begin what we call senior tours. We start with lessons that are led by our education team along with Steve and Lizette to educate people about the importance of buying local foods, the nutrition and economic benefits, and then we go on a tour of the market to really understand the different types of farmers and food purveyors. But we don't end with just that. We also want to make sure that we're helping to stretch people's food dollars. So again, with generous support from Marin Community Foundation and Marin HHS, we're able to provide a matching incentive to older adults that participate in the Farmers Market Nutrition Program to get more money, free money, to access fresh fruits and vegetables from local growers. We're running the Roll and Root every Thursday. So currently we have 3 different stops that go along the 101 corridor. So we're beginning at Whistle Stop, then we make our way up to Novato at the Marin Valley Mobile Country Club. And then in the afternoon, we then make our way back to San Rafael through our partnership with Mercy Housing at the Maria B. Freitas Senior Community. But I'm also really excited to announce that this Thursday, with support from our partners at Marin City, as well as partnership with the Marin Food Policy Council, we're going to be launching our 4th stop, which will be at the Marin City Community Development Corporation. This will be from 1 to 2 p.m. this Thursday. We're going to kick things off with a wonderful community barbecue that's going to be led by the Empowerment Clubhouse. We're also getting local meat and other items donated by Rosati Ranch and Devil's Gulch Ranch and other local farmers. So we invite everyone to come and celebrate the importance of bringing farm fresh produce, dairy, and other foods to local communities, recognizing that the Roll and Root is not the end-all solution. It's just one part of a broader change in our food system. But we want to provide an option to help meet people where they're at and also provide financial incentives. So with that said, through our markets and our Roll and Root programs, we do offer a variety of initiatives to help stretch people's purchasing power. So at the stationary markets, the Thursday and Sunday Civic Center markets, along with the Roll and Root, we accept EBT. We also offer a market match. So for every $10 spent on fruits and vegetables, EBT cardholders are able to get a matching amount. And last year, we had EBT cardholders receive about $150,000 in EBT benefits, and we provided a matching $95,000 to our community members. We know that every dollar spent at a farmer's market leads to twice the amount in economic stimulus, so it's very important to ensure that we're keeping our funds to support local growers. We then also have our Senior Farmers Market bucks, where we're able, again, to provide matching funds for our Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program beneficiaries to get more money to help support their purchase of fruits and vegetables. So again, this is all free money that not only helps to support people to get their meals met, but also the money helps to support our local growers. If you have any questions or want to get involved as a volunteer or want to make sure you're invited to our event on Thursday, we do encourage you to reach out. you can chat with Karima Hay in the back of the room, our mobile market coordinator, or Liana Orlandi, our program manager, to talk more about how you can get involved with the Agricultural Institute of Marin. Thank you.
So thank you so much for your patience. Please give us 5 more minutes. We did our best to catch up, but I wanted to do a couple final notes, things that just occurred to me during our presentation. One, there's so many good programs here with great events, great dates. Use the free announcements in the Marin IJ. You can just write the basic details, and it's published in the In Your Town section. That's free to you, and you just send it to localnews@marinij.com for any of your events. For the data that you have and the advocacy that you want to do, take your information to the Board of Supervisors, to a city council meeting, to a school board meeting, and make a presentation. There are public comments at every meeting, and you have their attention for the 2 or 3 minutes that you get, and you're also on video, and someone will see it again. So take advantage of that. Finally, someone mentioned teens volunteering, and it just occurred to me how many high school students are encouraged or required to do public service. So reach out to local high schools, to YLI and other organizations, and make some connections with local teenagers. Farmers market, have a lunch meeting at the farmers market. There are table and chairs and umbrellas, and bring your group together, buy lunch there, and connect. I wanted to thank my boss, Amy Reich, who had to sneak out because of public charge, but because of Amy, we get to host these events every month and offer this free convening to you, so thanks to her. Almost lastly, each table has a bag of rice, or whole wheat rice, or whole grain rice, or beans, and if you know someone who is hungry, would you please pass that along to them? If you don't, they'll end up in the food donation for the food bank, and thanks to everyone that brought food for that. And that's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to just add a few more administrative things to that. Actually, after many times reviewing, there is a typo I just want to point out on our take action sheet for Lori Davis for her email. It's Lori@Zenzuma, and I think on the sheet it says L. Davis. And so I just want to make a note of that so that you have her right contact information. And I do want to make a note of our website. So again, that's Marin Heal, and I think on there it says Marin, or Heal website, .org. So it's marinheal.org for our website as well. All right, we are going to wrap up here, and I'm going to ask Dr. Colfax and Dr. Hessel to come up and give our closing remarks. But before they do, I really hope, and I just want to thank you all for being here today, and really hope that with today's coming together of our community partners, that you were really able to see the work that's being done in our community around this, and that you all were inspired to take some kind of action today. If not today, you can take our flyer with you and kind of keep it living. Bring it to your community members, to your moms groups, to the school board meetings that you go to, and really advocate for this kind of change in our community. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Hessel from Marin Community Clinics.
Thanks, Reba. So in the interest of time, as I know everyone has spent the full morning here, I'm going to boil it down to 3 points. One, I just really want to thank Marin County Health and Human Services, Reba and her team, for really prioritizing this issue. I think they brought us back to the table with HEAL 2.0 and really refocused our efforts in a way that I think is really powerful to have us all working on this together towards the same goal. As a part of a member organization, I know that we at our clinics are really grateful for the work that the HEAL Collaborative has done. We see the power of understanding what everyone around us is doing and really identifying the gaps and allowing that to inform the work that we do. From creating programs in our nutrition program to our health hubs and the services that we try to offer and highlight at our health hubs, to our care navigators, really trying to connect our patients to all the resources that you're making available. So thank you, everyone that's been a part of that. I just want to say that I feel like today it's been kind of an emotional day. That little video with the kids, I think, was a good micro example of this excitement about this incredible work that's being done, but also the sobering statistic that in this world, this land of plenty, we still have 9 million missing meals. And so I'm really inspired by the work that everyone's doing, and also really grateful for all of these really concrete action points that allow us to find ways to do, I think as Katie said at the beginning, I don't know how she said it exactly, but more, better, faster, but smarter too. And I think it's the coming together and understanding what everyone's doing and how to avoid duplicating resources that really allows us to do this well. So I'm inspired, and I'm hoping that those of us who have high school and junior high kids can find ways to really connect our youth to this issue that's all around us. Thank you very much. Did I put up the wrong one? Sorry, I brought one up, but it got lost, and there's a you can't see, there's a sea of papers. This is the one you want to take home with you.
So thank you, everybody. I'm Grant Colfax. I'm Director of Health and Human Services. And I just wanted to thank you. I couldn't be here for the sessions today, but I know that you had productive conversations. I've been following along by email and so forth, and Messenger. I really think that the hunger issue, food insecurity, the fact that 1 out of 5 people in wealthy Marin is food insecure really is a social justice issue. And I know you've talked a lot about that, but I just want to reinforce our commitment in Health and Human Services, particularly around racial equity. Racial equity is the cornerstone of our HHS strategic plan, which will be released later this fall. And certainly the economic insecurity, housing insecurity, and food insecurity are key components of that work. And HHS is committed to supporting the work and realizes with all conviction that HHS cannot do this work alone, and it's really about our supporting community efforts, multiple stakeholders like you to do this work. And just from a very personal perspective, as a physician, I really became aware of the key role nutrition, the unrecognized role, and I think still very much under-recognized role nutrition and food insecurity plays in people's health. And that was really, for me, in working with people living and at that time dying from AIDS, where we were able to eventually and thankfully provide people with life-saving retroviral therapy, but it turned out that people had all sorts of complications that were not only due to the virus, but the fact that the virus and hunger work synergistically to make health outcomes worse. So from a very personal standpoint to a social justice standpoint, I stand here and the department stands with all of you in terms of making our efforts work. And I really like the comment that was made about work more effectively, more efficiently, and faster. And along with that, I think many of you touch HHS, and many of you are in HHS in different ways, and we're really making a strong effort internally to make our efforts around food insecurity, our efforts in the safety net work in general to be more integrative, so that when clients need help that they aren't told, oh, well, I know you're an older adult and you came to aging services, but for CalFresh you have to go over here, or I know you're in Marin City and you need behavioral health and CalFresh, so you've got to go see 3 or 4 people, and then you need to drive around in order to do that. So we're really trying to make more efforts and be more cohesive and more integrative in our work. We're not there yet. I think we've made some real progress, both as an example in our HEAL work is more integrative in working with older adults. Our behavioral health work is more integrated than ever. And yet, institutions and silos constantly work against us in doing that. And I just want to ask for all of you to help guide us in our work. And we are here to listen and learn from community partners such as yourselves, because you really know what's going on in the communities that we're trying to serve better. So I think HEAL is a key piece of that. HEAL 2.0 is stronger and better than ever thanks to your efforts. And I really hope that meetings like this and specific actions that are taken on your sheet can really help us move forward. And we'll be here with you and with our communities as we work on this issue of social justice and equity in Marin. So thank you very much, and I really want to acknowledge Reba and her work and the team's work in this really important effort. So thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon, and we'll keep moving forward. Thanks.